Well, I'm Ali. Welcome to Little Hill Homestead. In 2025, we are doing a series I originally was going to do just for a couple weeks in January, but then when I realized how many things you guys wanted to see or that I wanted to show you, this is probably going to be a 2025 series. We'll throw some other stuff in there, don't worry. We're going back to the basics, y'all. What this is going to be is things that will keep you from having to buy commercial products. So, things that you have to walk down the middle aisles to buy and you pay these companies big bucks for their hard work, you can now make it a fraction of the cost. So canned beans, especially organic canned beans, can get up to honestly, $3 something a can for one little can of beans. This takes just a little bit of time, not a ton of effort. I'm gonna show you guys a really easy canning method today using a pressure canner, and it's a good way to make canned beans. This is a can of black beans that we did probably 6 months ago, but this is the general idea. I'm going to be showing you guys pints, but I will also walk you through quarts. So if you prefer to have really big cans of beans, I'll explain that too. But I've done this with black beans, garbanzo beans, great northern beans, pinto, lima, you name a dried bean, y'all, you can can it. So I know pressure canning is super intimidating to some people. Doing beans in your pressure canner, easy. I am using a method today, a no soak method. You can soak your beans overnight. I never remembered to do it, and so I do a no soak method. I have some pint jars. I got these from Azure. These are just a narrow mouthed pint jar. I've already cleaned them in my dishwasher. I run them through my dishwasher just on hot water, and then I just rinse my lids and rings really well, and that's how I get my jars prepared. Fancy dancy, right? I have 6 because that's what fits in my Nesco electric pressure canner. If I was to pull out my big Mamba Jamba pressure canner, you can double stack these and get just a boatload of beans. I don't quite need that many today, and I don't want to have to monitor the pressure canner on the stove. I want to be able to do other things, so that's what I'm using today. To each pint jar, so I did like 4 cups of beans just so that I have enough to cover it all. This will do 6 jars. Like I was saying, these are from Azure Standard. They are called cranberry beans. They're basically very similar to a pinto bean, but they're a little thinner skinned. This is a 5-pound bag. I thought I wrote the price on it. These are organic as well, but if you want to go super simple, go to your local Walmart, even your local Dollar General, and you get you some black beans, some pinto, whatever kind of dried beans you want, and you can do these for like 25 cents a jar. Yeah, so I do not wash my beans, but I go through them and make sure there's nothing like funky, broken, rocks, any kind of debris at all. I take my little, this is a 1/4 of a cup measuring cup. I'm gonna do a 1/2 of a cup in each one of my jars. And I already looked through these once before, but I do it again as I'm doing it just to make sure. Second set of eyes type of a rule. Like I said, you can soak your beans. Some people boil them for 30 minutes and let them sit for an hour. There's various ways to do this. I just know for me, if I have to soak my beans and then do it the next, I have to be in the mood to can, and I just want to jump in. So that's why I do it this way, y'all. Plus, this is simple. I know some people will say it is a rebel canning method. Oh, I'm a little short, so let me grab just a handful of my beans. Some people say this is a rebel canning method. I've been doing this for a billion years. I've never had an issue with it at all. Hopefully today's not that day. So I have my 6 jars. 2 of those, let me get my rings out of the way. No, I'm gonna do the water on this side. I'm losing my mind, y'all. I almost forgot a couple things. Salt. To each one of these, I'm gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. It just helps it. When you can stuff, you need a little bit of salt. So I do a 1/2 teaspoon for a pint. I do a teaspoon if I'm doing a quart. I don't do jars bigger than quarts. And to do a really little tiny, like 1/2 pint is really not worth it. So I have a big pot of water. It's just starting to boil. I'm telling you, this is one of the easiest recipes, right? You're gonna take the hot water and fill your jars and leave 1 inch of headspace. What is headspace? It's basically the top of the jar. You need to leave 1 inch that doesn't have anything in it. So on most jars, it's like where that little line is at the bottom. That's my 1 inch mark. You can stick a chopstick in here and kind of move things around to get the air out. I find with beans, I kind of just give them a tap and I'm good to go. Things, when I'm canning like pickles and, you know, things that have more places for air to get trapped, I will definitely use a chopstick to get the air out. Beans, like I said, they don't really have a lot of places to hide air. And so I feel comfortable just giving them a tap. I'll show you that part. Let me get my water going in here. Like I was saying, if you want to use broth or something like that, you can. We're pressure canning these, so you could add little pieces of meat in there as well if you wanted to do like, I mean, if you're doing like a Mexican bean and you wanted to add a little chorizo or a little bit of bacon or something like that, you totally can. And we're there. I know that to some people this is considered a rebel method. If you feel like, girlfriend, I don't trust you in your crazy ways, you can soak these overnight and do it that way as well. Up to you. I just know this is what works for me. I'm not a lazy canner. I'm sure that it's safe for me. I just know that a lot of people have different opinions on this. Like I said, I just give it a tap. You can see the air come to the top. Now, as the air goes to the top, if you need to add any more water to take it back to your 1 inch mark, go ahead and do that. Beans are going to keep having air because they're dried. As the water penetrates them, they're going to release a little bit anyways. Let me grab my little towel. I just take a towel, and I don't think I got anything on the top of these, but since it's just water, I'm not worried about using vinegar, which is what I typically do. But fingertip tight, y'all. Do you remember that from our previous videos? Let me give you a little, what is fingertip tight? These are really pretty beans though. So what I do is I basically put my lid on, and as soon as it starts to spin freely like that, I grab the top and I give it one little tiny twist. Again, put my lid on. Spin it. As soon as it starts to grip too tight, then it'll spin the glass on the counter. That's my little rule. You'll start to learn not having to do it like that. You'll start to know the feeling the more you can. Okay, so like I said, I'm using my Nesco electric pressure canner. Carry electric pressure canners and Nesco are the same, you guys. I know there's a Presto that's bigger. Obviously, that's going to be a little bit different, but the Nesco and the Carry are identical. I'm going to lower my jars. In the bottom of this, by the way, have my little canning one, my little rack. I'm going to put these into our canner. And it fits 5 around the edge and 1 kind of in the middle. And then what I need to add is 8 cups of water because we're going to be pressure canning in this thing. You need 8 cups of water. Let me see if I can just get 8 cups of hot water out of this guy. That's my plan. I don't know if it paid off. There's 4. Some people do like a little glug of vinegar into their pressure canner to keep it from getting like water spots or things like that. Like as the water cooks down, it'll leave like a little white line. I do that in my big one. I haven't had to worry about it in this one yet. 8 cups, we're good. All right, you guys. So this one has like a lid very similar to an Instant Pot. So I just pop the lid down and seal it. I make sure that this is exhausting. You want the air to be able to release as it's doing the first part so that you know that it's got hot steam going through your whole canner. So on this one, I'm using my manual. Use your manual to whatever it says for yours. If you're using like a big one on the stovetop, you bring it to a boil, and as soon as you see a constant stream coming out of the top, you let it go for 10 minutes. I set a timer, 10 minutes, let that steam just go out like a choo-choo train. Then you put your jiggler on and let it come to pressure. Once it hits pressure, we're doing 10 pounds of pressure. If you're doing pint jars like I am, it's 75 minutes. If you're doing quart jars, 90 minutes. This one is a little easier than that. I am gonna do, what What do I put? What did I push? I'm not water bath canning. I'm on the wrong page. That would make a whole lot more sense. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. Okay, I did that. I got the right jiggler on. Okay, hi. Hello. Hi. I select my time. That's really loud, y'all. Woo, not that long. I am so sorry. That is, you ain't gonna miss a thing with this thing, right? We're doing 75 minutes. Set the pressure limiting valve to exhaust, which we did, and press start. All right, you guys. My beans are gonna be canning. This thing does it the same way. You're gonna watch to make sure it's exhausting, which it's on exhaust. You can see that it's lifted up. Same thing. It goes through a cycle where it's 10 minutes and then it vents, and then it's got all these beeps. It likes to beep. Sometimes, like I like the ease of this one. Once it gets to the point of pressure canning, then it's fine, I can walk away. But if I'm in the kitchen doing a lot and I don't have a lot of other things going on around the house, I really do like my stovetop pressure canner better. So you do you. That's what I have to say about that. I did get a fantastic deal on this through, I think it was through Kohl's actually, or Kohl's, or somebody had it close to Black Friday, and I paid like way less than you normally would. That's why I like to point out that the Nesco and the Carry are almost, they are the same they're exactly the same. If you go on and Carry is $40 less than the Nesco, now you know which one to buy. If Nesco is $50 less than the Carry, well then now you know which one to buy there. So there you guys go. I'm gonna let this do its thing, and then I'll kind of check in through the process to let you know what it's doing. But basically you're just gonna pressure can these, you guys. I'm not gonna do a basic pressure canning with an electric pressure canner. I will do one very, very soon, probably with meat. Maybe some canned chicken or some canned pork or something like that. You let me know what you want to see. But I'm going to do a very basic canning with a pressure canner on the stovetop, since that's the canner that most people have. So I will be doing that soon. But in the meantime, here you go. Okay, I'm going to go clean up while this thing's kind of running through its first cycle. And then once it gets to the 75 minutes and I can, set it and forget it like an infomercial, then I'm gonna go run and do a bunch of other things. We have, feels like you keep saying this, we have snow that's supposed to be here tomorrow. So I've already baked a loaf of, I should show you guys my bread. Do you wanna see my bread? Hold on. So I made a batch of hoagie rolls. And my hoagie rolls, I just did normal because I didn't want to make two new things at the same time. So my hoagie rolls, totally normal. We've made those a million times on the channel. I decided so I'm getting into fresh milled flour more. And as a transition, a lot of people jump right in and they're so excited that they start making every single thing possibly imaginable with fresh milled flour. It's a lot of fiber, y'all, and your system is not really used to that much fiber. So some people get gastrointestinal issues. It's smarter to wean yourself off of commercial flour and wean yourself onto fresh milled. So I did a loaf of our regular old sandwich bread using half and half. A lot of you guys ask me how I store my sandwich bread. I have 2 Ziplocs and I basically just slide them together and not seal them. Well, so I made my sandwich bread. It's very pretty. It looks like a good wheat bread. It's very soft. I overproofed it, so it's sunk down. I ate it for lunch anyways. I don't care. But, oops, my bad. Anyways, that's my sandwich bread that I made today. And then the other thing, like I said, we're getting ready for a snowstorm. When those are gonna be in our area, this is what I say. If a snowstorm's coming into your area, you gotta be sure that your house is ready for Jesus coming back, because I make sure my laundry's done. I make sure that my floor is vacuumed. I make sure that it's dusted, my plants got watered, I have extra food, it's company ready. Because if my power goes off and I'm stuck in my house for 2 to 3 days, I don't want to be miserable. The other thing that I made, hold on, let me put this away. And I'll bring you this recipe too, is this was another attempt at fresh milled. This is 100% fresh milled flour. It's a cookie recipe, brown butter cookie recipe. We saw this one from Homestead. If you haven't watched Becky, she's awesome. So we made her recipe with brown butter, chocolate chip cookies. It's not her recipe, but she got it from, was it Grains in Small Places or one of the fresh milled sites. They are really good, but what I'm learning about fresh milled flour, this was not a fresh milled flour video, you guys. What are you talking about? What I'm learning about fresh milled flour is you have to adjust things a lot. And so I'm going to redo this recipe to be a little bit more like what we like. It doesn't have walnuts in it. We prefer walnuts. They are very, very, they're crunchy. They're like a little bit chewy, but they're super crunchy and they're kind of dry. They also had way too many chocolate chips in them. They had so many that they sank to the bottom. And so I'm going to mess with the recipe a few more times. And once I get it, I will share that with you. But we made chocolate chip cookies. So if Jesus comes back or the snow hits, we are set. That's all. Okay, I'm going to go, like I said, get my house ready for Jesus coming back. No, I'm going to go continue doing a few more things around the house that I need to do once this hits its 75 minutes. So I'll be back. That's basically what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna have to learn how to put like at the bottom, what do you guys call them? Chapters or blah, blah, blah. There's a way where you can skip if you don't want to hear about Allie's crazy fresh milled flour adventures. If you want to skip and just go right on to the beans, I'll figure out if I can do that. There was one lady that is a subscriber that for a while was doing it for me, and she would put in the comments like, hey, if you just want to jump to this, these are the things. I don't know what happened to her, but I don't know how to do that. Anyways, off we go. Be back. I decided that since I don't want to have to pull everything out again, and I had everything out already, that I was going to do a batch of seasoned beans as well. So when this cycles and does its thing and I take them out, I'll be able to just put these ones in using the same method. So I won't show you the whole start to finish with this round, but it's essentially the same as this round. So these ones are going to be the same thing, but I'm going to do seasoned. So what I do with seasoned beans is I either just pour them into a pan, heat them up, and we eat them as a side with like tacos or whatever. Or, here's my other little trick. I take maybe 2 teaspoons of bacon grease. We keep a can, it's not a can, it's an old coffee cup from 1912. We keep a coffee cup in the refrigerator that has bacon grease drippings in it. So I put 2 teaspoons in the bottom of a pan. I dump one of these jars into it. If you want to add a little fresh onion or anything like that, and then I kind of mash it up and make a refried bean out of it. There you guys go. Sometimes I splash a little bit of cream and add some cheese too. It's fine. So to each one of these, again, I'm going to add half of a cup of beans. I'm telling you, we will at the end of this take in, I think that this bag, I'll have to look up how much this bag of beans was. These are organic beans, so they're a little more expensive than just going and getting pinto beans from Walmart or Costco. But if you were to do, you know, I'm just going to splash a few extra beans in some of these because I don't want to have to put them back after I've already touched them all. All right. What was it saying? I have no idea what I was saying. Oh, refried beans now are kind of expensive, and then we have been buying these refried black beans from Azure Standard that we really like. They're an organic refried black bean, but really the ingredients are super duper easy to make myself, so I'm gonna make a batch instead of buying them. Okay, I have a teaspoon right here, so I have a half a teaspoon. Again, I'm gonna do half a teaspoon of salt into each one. That's just what you have to have for canning. If you wanna do a low sodium canning, you can reduce it by half. I just like to make sure I'm safe and do a whole. My steamer, by the way, is just starting to go over here. So if you hear crazy noises, like Elf, what's the noise? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm gonna do some granulated onion. I'll do one and then I'll just show you what I'm doing there. We make and dehydrate our own spices. So this is dehydrated onion. It sticks a little bit because it doesn't have anything to stop it from sticking because we made it ourselves. But I'm gonna do half a teaspoon of granulated onion, half of a teaspoon of garlic, granulated garlic. Again, we just had whole garlic cloves. We dehydrate and then we grind them up. Then we like cumin in our house. It gives it the like quintessential Mexican bean type of flavor, like a refried bean flavor. I'm gonna do about 1/4 of a teaspoon. You don't do too much or straight up it's gonna taste like cumin. I'm gonna do about 1/4 of a teaspoon of chili powder. I don't want too much, but I like the hint of it. Beans still wanna taste like beans. You don't wanna overpower them. Then I'm gonna do about 1/4 teaspoon of oregano. If you want, you can do black pepper as well. I thought I pulled it out, but I didn't. I don't really need it. So that's what I'm gonna do in each jar. Your spice is already in there, and then you essentially are gonna fill it with hot water and process it exactly the same, but you're gonna label these ones seasoned so you don't confuse yourself and add them to a recipe that doesn't require seasoned, and then you're like, why does it taste weird? Make sure you label your stuff. Anyways, there you guys go. This is gonna go for 10 minutes now, and then you just basically close this little top like you would an Instant Pot. It's really easy to use. It likes to make a lot of noise and sputter, but you know, don't we all sometimes? Anyways, I'm gonna go finish these off and I'll be back in a little bit to check it. Okay, I just sealed my top and it builds a little bit more pressure and then it goes to 75 minutes. So it is just doing its countdown. While I was waiting for this is what I do, is like things like this, I don't really need to keep my eye on, but I need to be nearby so that I hear the beeping. So I had a butternut squash that we had in our long-term like root closet that when I put it in there, it had some damage to it. So I knew it wasn't gonna last too long. Well, I went in today and it's definitely like screaming like, hey, use me up. So I decided since I don't really have plans for it, I just cubed it up and threw it in the freezer. So multitask. That's the kind of stuff we do around here. Anyway, so now my butternut will not go to waste and my beans are doing their thing. So off to do the next project. Hey y'all, I'm back. My timer just buzzed. My 75 minutes is over. With this one, I just have to wait until it naturally releases. And then there's this like pin up here that will drop. And when it does that, then I know I'm safe to open it and remove my beans. So I'm gonna wait for that. It usually takes, honestly, like an hour. So we're gonna get dinner started and we'll be back. Hey guys, we're back. Okay, here's our beans. I don't know if you can see them bubbling still. Yeah. Our kids were over for dinner, so it's actually almost 10 o'clock at night. But our beans are done, perfectly canned. And there you go. That's our tutorial on how to can dried beans. Yeah, if you have any questions, hit me up below. Otherwise, I hope you go can some dried beans. Save yourself some money and do it yourself. Thanks for watching, guys.